All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron with you guys as always, and today we have a fantastic duo of guests. This is the first time I've had two people on at the same time, so she might get crazy. I got Doug and Trinity Thompson, I believe is the last name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, so I got the both of them
that's
here.
correct.
And this is a father-son, father-daughter duo with the company
That's
called
okay.
Hell-n-Back, I believe is what you guys call your company,
Yes.
Doug, or the both of you together?
Yeah,
All right.
Hell-n-Back Welding. Gotta have that Alberta drawl to it.
So actually, that's a good start. Where are you guys located?
We're located out of Nampa, Alberta, just about 450 kilometers north of Edmonton.
Okay, so you guys are up there now. That's getting up there.
Yeah, we're in the sticks.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Doug, let's start with you. A little bit of your backstory. Like, you got a lot on YouTube. You got a lot of stuff that you've put up on your own. But where were you born? Like, kind of where did you get your starts? Where's your roots?
Well, my roots here, let's see, I was born in Winnipeg, moved out to Alberta when I was about 7 to enjoy the almighty crash of the 80s, the early 80s. We knew when all the cards fell over, and yeah, we came to Alberta when that happened. So, and then welding career wise, I started in Sundry as an apprentice, and when I was 15. And then mostly focusing on prototyping oil field equipment in water separation and water cleaning. So I spent about 10 years doing that, building prototype equipment. Basically, back in the early 90s, they used to do a lot of sump drilling. So they'd dig a pit and they'd have all their barite and their gel, and they'd run it out of pits. Well, we made a machine basically for sumpless drilling. So we'd take all their overflow and clean and strip all their water and send it back to the drilling rig to increase drilling time. So I spent quite a few years doing that, and then several shops in Calgary, learning different parts of the trade to prepare myself for my eventual trip up north.
Okay.
In 2000, it came to Peace River.
So then you're cutting your teeth in the kind of the oil and gas sector, which many people in Alberta did. I did quite a bit of that here in Saskatchewan. Were you like on the apprenticeship train? Because I know that's a big thing in Alberta. You went through the levels and like 1, 2, 3, bam, into your journey person, or did you kind of take a different route?
Yeah. Well, no, it took me 6 years to get signed up as an apprentice, because back in the early 90s, no one wanted to do anything for you. They hired you for a couple months, laid you off, you're off to the next shop. So no one wanted to make a commitment or a hire contract, because they're like, oil field's dead, there's no work. They just didn't invest anything in their workers. So it was very difficult to get into the apprenticeship program. But eventually I did. I signed on with over 6,000 hours. Enough for a couple tickets.
Yeah.
And perseverance just to get it done. And yes, I did my first 3 years, 2 years in Fairview College, and then my last year in state.
You know, that's really interesting because
Or in Fairview.
I had kind of the same trip there because I didn't go for my red seal till I was at 10,000 hours. So I was like, yeah, I got to get this thing off my
Wow.
back. Yeah, like just get it done and get it,
Yeah.
because I just kept going from job to job to job. And then finally it's like, I want to move up in the world, but I need that damn ticket, right? So,
Yeah, you got to have that paperwork, and you
Mhm.
got to there's no one out there that's just going to give you a helping hand and hand it to you. You had to fight with it and be diligent and just keep at it and know what you wanted to do. I mean, that's why I cruised several shops. I'd go to one shop for a while and learn everything that I could or that they had to offer, because in that day, certain shops only did certain things. So if you wanted a wide variety of experience, you had to go to different shops and learn. There wasn't really a lot of journeymen that were like, hey, come over here, I'm going to show you the ropes. No, they're like, here's the crap I don't want to do. You can do that just fine.
And that's often
I'm
the
sure
way
the
it goes.
experience was much
Yeah.
the same with you.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I
Here's
had
a grinder.
I was in weld
Yeah.
shops where they wouldn't even let me touch welding machines. I was like, come on, like I'm not gonna get better if I don't practice. Like, really.
Oh, exactly. Wow. Yeah. No, they only let you have the grinder, eh?
Yeah, and a 7-inch because they're jerks.
Oh, yeah, the big old heavy aluminum Makita ones that would just rattle your bones. Yeah.
All
I
right, so
got carpal tunnel in both my hands at the age of 19 from that thing.
I think all welders
Oh,
honestly
it's
have
terrible.
carpal tunnel to some level, and you start getting those weird welder muscles in your arms from, holding grinders all day, and it's a
Yeah.
crazy journey when you first start.
Oh, it is. It is. And just to find yourself in the nature of it, and let alone safety. And man, it was hard enough to get a pair of safety glasses back in those days.
All
Like
right.
that was an issue. You remember that issue
Oh
when
yeah,
people
for
didn't
sure.
want to wear
Yeah,
glasses?
yeah. Oh yeah. And then
Yeah.
I know quite a few welders with one eye. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh.
all right. So
Or how many fingers cut off?
exactly. So I actually lost one, but they put it back on. So like, I mean, science is cool, right? So now let's
Oh,
ask.
I worked with one guy.
Go ahead.
I worked with one guy. He cut off his finger right at the knuckle once, and a year to the date, he cut the same finger off again, doing the same thing. Both pipe.
He just
Knocked it off
he
twice.
just didn't like it. He was mad at it.
I don't know.
All right. So Trinity,
I still have
compare
all my fingers.
compare your journey, Trinity, compared to your dad's now. Like, so he's having to bust through shops, not getting on the apprenticeship train, finally gets in, 6 years in, works his way up, ends up in Peace River. So that's where we stopped with your dad. Now, where's Trinity
Mhm.
in this? At what age did you think this is cool or not, or kind of lay it out for us?
Well, I tried my best to follow in his footsteps. So I actually started my apprenticeship at 15 as well, but with him. So luckily I did not have to go and bust down people's doors to get an apprenticeship, which I was very fortunate for. And I worked a lot in the school program, in the
Rat.
in the RAP program. So I would get days off of school in order to work and get hours. Um, and I did a lot of skills competition contests at the Fairview College, and I did about 3 years worth of that. And that was like so educational and so
Mhm.
worth it. If anybody's out there that wants to do it, I highly recommend it. And it really put me in touch with a lot of people. And so I actually ended up eventually taking my first semester of grade 12 off school to go to Fairview College at 17. And I got my first year done. And then I went back to high school, graduated, and then at 18 started working on a bridge project up here, and then finished my second and third year well on that project. And then I was a journeyman at the age of 20. So I followed in his footsteps, same college, same age, start an apprenticeship, but just a little faster because I had all the help of everybody in the community and my dad and teachers. You know, they all really gave me a lot of good insight into how to get it done and, get people to sign my hours and everything. So
Not to mention, she was the youngest in Canada to get her CWB ticket, her all position ticket.
at 16.
Yeah.
So what you're
Just because I knew she could handle it.
So what I'm
She did.
hearing from this conversation is really low key. Trinity is a way better welder than Doug.
Probably.
Well, I mean, I did get my journeyman like 5 years before.
Yeah, you did.
And that's I love the skills program first off. So like when I was teaching at the college,
Yeah.
my one of our students, Adam Sebastian, ended up winning gold in nationals twice, and then I went with him to
Mhm.
Russia last year or 2 years ago now
Wow.
for skills. It's an
Yeah.
awesome opportunity. It is so good, and it's the competitiveness to be like the best. Really brings out the best in young
Yeah.
welders.
Yeah,
Well, it was
definitely.
good. You got fourth in Alberta.
Yeah, and it really taught me a lot that I didn't get the chance to learn before going to college or even in college sometimes. Like even just knowing how to read a blueprint, sometimes people in shops don't take the time to show you that, but the skills, it kind of gives you that chance to practice that and learn that. Just blueprints and make sure to check the measurements on there. I had one guy in that competition who thought he was going to win for sure, rubbing it in everyone's faces, but he completely just thought he got it, and he didn't even look at the measurements or what size of welds he had to put on. So it was good practice to really know the difference and practice welding to a certain size. And because of that, going into school, I really had a good base of all the I don't know how I'd say that, a good basis of knowledge before going into school.
You had some experience ahead of when other people normally get it. It was
Yeah.
a good fast track.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I highly recommend it to anyone, or even anyone thinking about going into a trade. Like if you're in school, if you have the chance to compete, that's, 100% recommend.
Awesome. So now back to Doug. We ended up with you and moving to Peace River is what you said. You got your journey person. And what kind of work did you get into? So like what kind of was your niche that you found yourself going into for welding?
Oh, niche, man. Like my company says, Hell-n-Back. Your worst day is my busy time. So we do a lot of up here. We got a lot of people working hard, and anytime you bring iron into the ground, you're breaking and smashing and tearing up stuff. So my specialty is I do a lot of repairs, but earlier, most was manufacturing. Spent a lot in manufacturing, engineering, and designing. So I came up with a lot of products. So there's just so many, so much to congest in a little bit of time. But I was always the guy with the welding cap, busy thinking and on how to manufacture and streamline this product and set up the shop. I was always used to running 10 to 30 guys. So it wasn't always myself I had to worry about. I had to worry about the line. Okay, I got to keep everything from apprentices to journeymen going, building different projects. So it kept me very busy. I'm all over the place, but mostly I spent a lot of time manufacturing and designing, putting out products, engineering, and trying to find that miracle product that I can build a lot and make some money.
That's two very interesting sides of the coin that I often talk to students about and people that are new in the trades. So first of all, the importance of maintenance and repair welding. People overlook that all the time, think that, oh yeah, it's easy to be a repair welder. No. Having machinery that's trashed and you got to figure out how to bend it back into shape and put it back together and it's still going to work.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at ground attachments, like you got to have pins that line up. They got to be within like 1/1000th of an inch, right? And you're doing live gouging, live welding.
You got twisted sticks.
That's right. I did lots of that in my career, and you know what? That made me a freaking way better welder because you're out in the middle of nowhere and you got to build up bores and fix teeth and blades and that's really cool.
Oh, you got nothing to work with.
That's right. Just a dog and wedge and a bunch of pry bars and give her, like.
Yeah. Lots of preheat or clean it out and lots of tight spots. And, when you're trying to repair a broken carrier on a D9 Cat without taking the tracks off, and, it's got to be done that evening because it's going out. Oh, yeah.
And then there's the other side of the coin that you brought up, which was manufacturing, which is kind of how I ended my career before I got into teaching, is I ended up working at Brandt Industries, a large manufacturing company. And that was kind of like my first time getting into like learning how, because I ended up like as a fabrication supervisor. So I had all the apprentices and the people out there, and I had to line up the products and learn how to manage the whole line, like you said. That's a whole nother world of welding that some people don't got the mind for. Like it's a special type of skill to be able to see this project through,
Yeah, and know whether you should take the time building jigs for this production run, or do it by hand, or send it laser cutting, or plasma, or there's so many people. Whether you're going to go to stick with SMAW or GMAW, or we're going to go with this weld process, or there's so much to the manufacturing and keeping 30 guys busy. There's a lot of thinking and going. You got to work with them and work with the flow, and product, what is it, QC.
Mhm.
I've done lots of QC work, even with military spec, doing stuff for Raytheon. Now the military, they like their stuff. I mean, you have to go out, they'll point to a bolt. Okay, where's this bolt come from? Where's the bill from it? Where's it come from? What's this Pete? Who made this? You know, it's lots of QC work.
Yeah. Okay, now Trinity, we ended up with
Mhm.
you going off to work on a large bridge project, which is mainly structural welding. So
Yes.
what was your shtick? Did you really like the structural stuff, or kind of like where did your career go from there?
Well, before then I was working with my dad doing stuff around the shop. So that was a lot of fabrication. Whereas when I worked on the bridge job, it's a construction site. It's completely different. I was, at 18, right out of high school, like literally 3 days after I graduated, thrown into learning how to, you know, what is a not run a crane, like show them
Oh,
where to,
zoom boom.
yeah, run all this heavy equipment, direct cranes,
Run pile drivers.
yeah, show
Mhm.
oh, pile splicing, like, and it wasn't small stuff because when I worked with him, it was all smaller projects, make a rose or make something small fabrication projects. Whereas this, we're talking, it's 1 to 2 inch thick steel beams that I'm cutting or welding, and
Yeah.
I'm learning this all new, thrown into it, expected to know what I'm doing. But it was such a good learning process, learning all this new stuff that I couldn't necessarily learn with my dad because we weren't building a bridge by
Yeah,
ourselves.
you were doing H piles, so
Yeah.
you had to do ultrasound. She'd pass all the
Yeah.
ultrasound, and she was splicing 30, 36, and 60-inch beams. So
That's a lot of weld.
prepping and splicing 60-inch beams, that's
Yeah.
a lot of weld.
Yeah. And just working with a crew of, over probably 100 people, just learning all that was really good experience. And now I'm kind of working back on the smaller stuff, but going from big stuff and cutting all that, doing a precise cut on like 1.5 to 2 inch thick steel, to now going back to like 3/8 is really completely different. So it almost challenged me so much that now the stuff that I was doing is now a lot easier because, comparatively to what I was doing, it really gave me a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and big construction jobs
Plus, all your
do
work
that.
was 40 feet below river.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like those big
Yeah.
construction jobs.
Now all that
it's
work, now all
so
that
much
work
people.
was
Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely, and especially just being because at first all of my welds, they weren't really put to a pressure test or what I could call it, but when you're welding these sheets together for cofferdams or all these beams together, you see how much pressure and how much warpage and how you really need to weld it good, or you can see, like I said, a giant beam just rip in two in like an instant, you know what I mean? So it was really interesting to see that, and I think it gave me a lot of knowledge.
Well, there was so much strain inside that cofferdam. A 36-inch beam, wide flange, broke sideways,
Yeah.
not on the weld. So there was that much force in that hole, and we got 30 guys 40 feet below water in the wintertime. Yeah, that's important that every weld is good so we can get out at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
And I always found interesting about construction jobs, which I didn't do a lot. I did a few summers shutdowns with construction companies. I wasn't a big fan of working outside. I'm kind of a baby that way. I'm from South America and I don't like the cold, so I only like warm weather.
Yeah.
Oh,
But the thing with construction sites, like working with the iron workers or getting out on site, is that there's so many people from different crews. So everyone's working around
Mhm.
each other, and that can be really overwhelming sometimes. Like there's scaffolders, there's pipe fitters, there's welders, there's iron workers, boiler makers. The millwrights are putting machinery together over there, and everyone's got to kind of coordinate together, and it's kind of like a dance,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
there's one easy rule to remember: never work under an iron worker.
Yeah. That's a good, that's a
Don't.
good one.
No.
Unless you want a sledgehammer or a pin bar in the head, don't get under an ironworker.
Okay, so
Everyone else is fine. They'll get out of your way.
in my experience, I always like my personal life. I always liked working on heavier equipment more than smaller equipment. I
Mhm.
find that once I went to heavy,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't like going back to the thin stuff. It was like too finicky and too like I don't know, it was like annoying, like, whereas working with big materials, I really liked them. So let's start with you, Doug. Do you like the bigger stuff or the smaller stuff first? And then I'll ask Trinity the same question.
Well, I guess I'll refer to an old blacksmith saying it's either guns or plowshares. What are we building this time? It's the season. I love doing big iron, working with the big stuff, but I also like being able to work with the small stuff.
Mhm.
That's when I really get to put the magic. I mean, I like it all.
The art stuff. like-
Welding is a passion and love of mine, but
Mhm.
I think I do like repairing most of the time, because when they call me, their stuff is destroyed and someone else has tried to fix it. And if you can give your client another year of work out of it, hey, that's helping them. And
Mhm.
sales is an act of love. So, you're taking your knowledge and giving them something to take a little while. So your work is a little more noticed when you're putting Humpty Dumpty back together,
Yeah.
and they can't even tell. You should never be able to tell
Mhm.
once fixing it.
And
Yeah.
Trinity?
Well, I guess I could point out we love the heavy stuff, but we also do things like this. We build delicate 1-pound roses, and we sell a lot of these things. So that's what keeps us busy in February through the shorter months, right?
And Trinity, do you like the bigger stuff or the smaller stuff?
Well, I have to say, size doesn't really matter to me. so, if it's made out of metal, I
Mhm.
like it. But it's really fun being able to see stuff of that size and work with metal of that size and big ass welds. It's fun. When you take a whole day to do a whole splice, I find it so, I don't know, just so encouraging and exciting, and I want to do it again, and it's fun. But then I love doing the daintier stuff. I love doing dainty little projects and sculpting and just making very artsy things. So I really don't have a preference on it. I just, it's all the chances I can get to work with different things and up my experience, I'll take.
Okay, well, this is a good time to take a break. So we're going to take a break. We went a little bit long there because it was a great conversation.
Mhm.
So we'll be back after these short commercials here on the CWB Association podcast. And we're back here on the CWB Association podcast. We have a great episode today with two fantastic family members that are working up in northern Alberta. We got Doug and Trinity Thompson talking to us about all the different types of work and experiences they've had in their both storied careers. Now, we've touched on this in a few times throughout this conversation. You guys both seem really artistic. So who's got the
Yes.
art
Yeah.
bug? Because I'm not. That's swear to God, it's one of my faults. It's what I've never been good at. Is I can't draw or sculpt. I don't got like the mind for it. Like you have to have that ability to see it in there. I don't see it in there. I can make something.
It's the vision.
That's right, and I don't got that artistic vision. My daughter does, and I look at her and I don't even know where it comes from. So, Doug, you obviously are artistic, even just in your visual presentation, the tattoos, the hair. You value the look of something, so you like art. Now, did Trinity get this from you,
Yes.
or do you guys have similar artistic styles, or how's that work?
Well, I knew when she was a baby, when I looked at her hands, I said these are golden hands. They're maker's hands. So she's always been a creative artist. I mean, she's had a scrap pile since she's 5 years old.
That was my first fort, actually. It was just a scrap pile in the backyard. And I'd always go and look through all the metal and see if anything cool was in there.
And one day we went into the shop and she drew some pictures, and she came in there with her sandals and wanted to do some cutting. And I told her she should probably get some boots on. And she didn't listen. I'm like, okay, here you go. She cut with the cutting torch and had to do the little dance. And then she went out and came back with my boots and my coveralls. And then she drew her pictures, and we cut them out and welded them up. And I was questioning her. I'm like, should we do this? She's like, Dad, I'm the artist, you're the welder, get it done. And this is at like 6 years old. So we've always been working together, creating things since then.
And what kind of art do you like to do on your own, Doug? Like, what did you see in your artistic life growing up?
Oh, well, I think where I'm getting to now is where I'd like to be is I call it plague art. So I custom sculpt steel skulls so you can put your ashes in them.
Hmm.
Because who wouldn't want to have grandfather in a memento mori, like a solid steel skull full of his ashes? So I like to do realistic roses, skulls. I'd love to do a skeleton one day, do a whole atomically. Like a personal challenge. Make it
Hmm.
as detailed as you can, but you still got to make money at it, right?
Yeah.
So taking that and taking my manufacturing experience and be able to ramp it up so I can produce a few more of these than rather just one-offs. I got to be able to do quite a bit.
And
So
Trinity,
art is more way.
what type of art, Trinity, do you like to do? I mean, the roses are easy sells, but there's lots of those online. What's the stuff that's like Trinity Special?
Okay, well, that's the thing. I don't think that there is a Trinity Special, I would say, because like my whole life I've dabbled in pretty much every art form you could, like sculpting, scrapbooking, painting, sewing, literally everything. I'm a baker, so if that's kind of like art,
Hmm.
I did cake decorating. I was an airbrush artist for a little bit. I worked in an art gallery. I've always been just doing things with my hands. That's the most important thing, is if I can make something out of nothing, that's what I like. And I think for me, doing it out of metal is a bit more rewarding. So I would say right now my specialty is art out of metal, but I wouldn't say that there's a certain thing that I make. I'm constantly just experimenting and creating new things. And, dad sees me in the shop all the time, just making scrap into whatever. Sometimes it makes money and it sells, and sometimes it just is a cute thing that we put on the shelf. It's just, it's really, I don't know. I wouldn't say that there's a specialty, but I would just say we're both very artistic people that take anything that we can turn into art and we do it. I mean, you even just, he'll take like, oh, he takes scrap that his one friend brings him from the thrift store and turns it into
Magic props.
yeah, bubblers, fire bubblers, or he takes fire extinguishers and makes them into flamethrowers.
Everybody
or
loves flamethrowers.
yeah, we kind of just take things and make them into what we want to make them.
Awesome. So now, where you guys are now, do you guys with Hell-n-Back, do you guys both work together? Are you guys both actively working together in the same
Yes.
company?
Yes,
Yep.
we are the only two employees except for my
Yeah,
mom.
that's it. I've
Yep.
I've been to a spot where I had 26,000 square foot shop and 30 employees. That has passed, and I'm glad it has. I'm really happy just to work with my daughter and create and fix people's problems. Or like, I have a lot of clients, they have a dream, they have a vision, and we fulfill it for them.
Hmm.
We customize anything that somebody wants. So we like to produce that magic and pass that love on, but make it hyper realistic, as real as we can. The magic's got to be there.
And you guys have quite a bit of stuff online too. So in terms of social media and YouTube videos and stuff like that, how much is that kind of like important to you guys, or do you see it as a tool towards, promoting your art or your company, or is it just something you just do for fun? Like, where does that sit in your guys' minds?
Well, we live in a very small community. I mean, our town is about maybe 6,000 people. It's not the smallest, but eventually everyone in town has one of our products. So to be able to use social media and use, YouTube and Instagram and Etsy for other people to access our products instead of just selling them locally has really helped, because we can't sell to 6,000 people everything. We
No.
need people from uh it's the only way that we could get people from Italy or people from
Australia, we're sending two to
exactly.
Australia,
Hmm.
Spain and France and the UK and all over the States.
Hmm.
We got, I mean, that's the market. I mean, if you're a small welding company, if you want to keep busy, you have to let people in and let them see what you do and let them support you.
Well, and I've even noticed that, Doug, you have kind of like some tips and tricks videos and some like training stuff out there,
Yes,
and that's really awesome
I
because like
did. I did a CW. I did the flat position CWB video years ago, and had so many people just really happy that I showed them all the tricks and stuff over 20 years. I still have a couple more videos that they're bugging me to do. We might produce those soon. I'm not sure, but you
well,
know, I didn't grow up with a journeyman close at hand, so I always thought I spent a lot of time looking for a good journeyman to show me tricks, but that just didn't happen. So why don't I do that for other people? Just show them what I know, and hopefully that does you well.
giving back is such an important thing in the welding industry. I just did a podcast earlier today with another guy who's just amazing, and we were talking about like the welding community that it's like worldwide, and no other trade seems to have that. Where like welders
No.
around the world, we know who's out there, and we know who's kind of doing stuff, and when you run into a welder somewhere, it can be anywhere in the world. It's like, oh yeah, what kind of weld do you do? Oh yeah, I do this, I do that. Next thing you know, 6 hours has passed, and you've been talking about work for 6 hours. Like, it's just
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's
so
easy.
easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
And now for you guys, what's the plan now going forward? You know, mother or father and daughter company just ride it out till retirement and then she takes it over, or kind of what do you guys see kind of as a vision of the future for yourselves?
Well, I look at the shop that we built. We built a 2,400 square foot shop at home and setting it up as a studio. So, well, one thing with my daughter, when I told her, I says, it's not welding that I want to teach you. I want you to learn how to work with the medium of metal and then go from there and apply it to art. So I would really like to continue on with the art and amongst my repairs, because repairs are chaotic, right? They
Mm-hmm.
happen all the time. So if I get a call, I go do a repair and then I come back and do custom orders for magicians and theater performers and artists all around the world.
So do you,
Invent, use all the neural knowledge that you used
yeah, being
to
in a
build something cool.
small community like yourselves, do you find that that might make it easier? Because like I tell you, I don't think someone in a city would have that ability to just have a 2,400 square foot shop to work sometimes out of. Like, I mean, the cost would just be outrageous. But in a small community, you guys have that, unique ability.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd just build it at home. That way I can walk to work every day. I mean, people coming to me and I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I like it. We got the studio, and hopefully I'll pass on the studio to Trinity, and she can, from blacksmithing to welding and sculpting, create anything that she wants or anything that the clients want.
And Trinity, on your end, do you seek any maybe individual accomplishments aside from Hell-n-Back? Like, are you pursuing any kind of maybe offshoot things of your own?
I mean, I don't really know right now, but I know that, me, I'm never not going to be a part of Hell and Back. I will
Hmm.
always be there helping him out. I'll always be there making art, but I do want to, if something comes up and it gives me the chance to learn something, I want to do things like that to get more experience. I know that my dad and you, for example, have a lot more experience because you've been to all these jobs. So I do want to do that, but I will never not be a part of Hell and Back. That's always going to be, uh, and I'm never not going to be an employee of Hell and Back, I
Yeah.
guess I could say.
It's like when the bridge came up.
Exactly.
I couldn't give her that kind of experience without getting her a job on the bridge. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
now she was working on the bridge, and she got miles of time welding beam and H piles and getting used to working with people. So that's a lot of experience as a journeyman I can't give to her.
Hmm.
So I want to make sure that all my students get a wide variety. So if another big job comes up where there's a lot of good things to learn, I'll push her that way,
Mhm.
and she'll go out and work for a while there and come back. I mean, I want her to have as much experience in the field as she can and know what she wants to do and what she doesn't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, even if I take a break from the shop for a bit, the shop is what I value most. I want to help keep that thing running. I want to do whatever I can to support the business and be a part of it as much as I can. It's other jobs are temporary, but I'm invested in Hell-n-Back, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just gonna throw this out there, like, what if a what if question? What if one of you guys
Mhm.
has like an opportunity come up that be like 5 or 10 years of work in some like amazing thing?
Mhm.
Is that something you would look into?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, even 10 years of work, that's not my whole life. I've got
Yeah.
lots of time to come back to the shop. I've got lots of time to do other things. I think we're both very supportive of each other, of doing whatever we want to do and whatever we think will help us or give us a sense of satisfaction or
Mhm.
whatever.
When's the last time you seen a 10-year work job in Alberta?
Exactly.
Not in Alberta,
That
but
too.
I just got a phone call the other day. BC's got some big projects coming up, man. Big projects out on the
yeah,
water.
especially in the shipyards,
Oh,
eh?
huge, man! Like
Yeah.
I was just talking to a buddy of mine out there, and he said that they're looking for it's 10 to 15 years of work for about 200 welders.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean,
And that's in the shipyards, eh?
yeah, that's in the shipyards. And I was telling my students, I'm like,
That's what I thought.
pack up your stuff and go to BC. Like you're young, go experience that. Like
Yeah.
why would you not? That's an opportunity. Like I mean, if I was
Oh.
20 years old and I had a good chance to go build some cool ships on the water, I would be all over that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it'd be a good experience. You're not going to get that anywhere else.
No.
Oh, I spent building a battleship.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Yeah,
Like-
but that's exactly it. You know, right now I am young, so I can easily take those opportunities because, you know, I'm not really tied down too much. So I
Mhm.
can go and take 10 years and go work in a shipyard. And, you know, I know that I will always have, in a way, Hell-n-Back to come back to, and I will still always want to be a part of the business. You know, even if I was working and I came up for Christmas, I'd still be in there making things and making
yeah.
roses and videos and everything. Any chance I would get, for sure.
So, Doug, is there another family member that's not in the steel industry, or how involved is the whole family?
Well, I mean, as any good family goes, my wife is very important and very crucial to the company. She handles all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, she does all that stuff. So any videos she's taking, any advertising, and these days, if you don't have an online presence, you don't really exist.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, without my wife being able to help show the things that we're doing, uh, we would just be on another job. That's it.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely. We do not handle our social media appearance at all.
No.
She makes us do it. She's like, Trinity, take this picture so I can post it. I'm like, okay,
do
fine.
this video.
And then, you know, there's a picture and then I go back to work and mom handles all the comments and, you know, I'll go on there and share it and try to comment. But even me, like, even though I'm young, I'm not on social media that much except for the occasional post because, you know, I've got sometimes better things to do, but it is a crucial part. So she handles all of that. And, you know, she's not a welder per se,
No.
but she's a writer. That's her thing. And as far as my sister goes, she could not get her hands dirty, not in a
No.
bad way. She's very educated. She goes to McGill. She's very smart. She's just more on that path, but she doesn't want to be a part of the trade.
No,
Yeah, and that's
no,
100%
definitely
no.
not getting her hands dirty.
Yeah,
No.
and that's okay.
No.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I tried to run. So my dad is a journeyman welder, and I was like, I don't want to be a welder. I totally was like, I want to cut my own teeth and do my own thing, and I ended up being a
Mhm.
welder. So, like, I mean, it just pulled me in, and I couldn't stop it.
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you still love it after these many years?
yeah, you know, I miss the conversation I had with a friend this morning. I was like, I miss the big projects. Like now, I've worked into like more office administrative. I'm director for CWB now. I teach at the college,
Yeah.
and I miss teaching because I love being with students. Like I just love watching those little light bulbs light
Yeah.
up and seeing those things click. But I miss being out there with the blueprints and the team, and you know, the morning
Mhm.
roundup and organizing the jobs and or getting the calls when there's a piece of
And
machinery.
truckloads of steel.
Yeah, yeah, everything's rolling in, and you already can envision how this is going to be put together. And I miss that. I miss that. But you know,
Yeah.
everyone's got a different role, and I progressed through these roles, and I'm in a position now where I can help in a different way, right? Things like this podcast.
Yeah.
We got tons of listeners, and they love hearing these stories. And people like yourselves are inspiring people to get out there and do stuff. And that's how we're helping now. Like, I mean, that's what I'm doing to try to help, right?
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
So now I asked everyone this question every time, so I'm going to ask it to Trinity first this time. I want to say for a young person coming into the trades, whether they're new to welding or switching careers or whatever it is, what would be a piece of advice from your experience for them to be a success in the welding industry?
I would say don't think about it too hard. I feel like a lot of people who want to get into the trades, they think that, they're not going to be good at it. They're not going to know all this information. They're going to get into it and not know what they're doing. But that is the whole point of, starting a trade and later getting an apprenticeship and doing the hours. You don't know everything at the beginning, and just to try it, any class that you can take, any course that you could take to even try it out, just go for it. Even if you're thinking about it and it's not that huge in your mind, you have to really do it to tell if you love it. Because the first time I started welding, like you said, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it. My dad wanted me to do it, and I was like, no, I'm going to get a different job. And then I started doing it, and I fell in love with it instantly. Like my first weld, I was so excited, and I just wanted to do it more and more and more. So really, if you're thinking about it, try to find some course or something hands-on where you can do it, you can make something. And I think it'll really tell you if you love it or you hate it. Some people, I feel like it's one way or the other. You love it right away or you don't like it. So just try it. Don't set yourself back by saying you're not as good as this TIG welder that you saw on Instagram, or you won't be able to do this. Just get out there and try it.
And Doug, what's your sage advice now as a wily old veteran?
Oh, I think she's still half what I wanted to say, but I think it's got to be down to a love. You got to really like what you're doing, because there's going to be a lot of shitty days ahead of you, a lot,
Yeah.
more than you can count. And you know what I'm talking about. Those
Mhm.
days where you're like, I don't even, right?
Yeah.
You got to find that love for what you're doing and let it guide you, because you're going to be, there's so many areas of welding, from pipeline above ground, below ground, mining, your oil field repair, your manufacturing, your fab shops, your pipe shops, your boiler shops, and they're all different.
Mhm.
Every single one of them are different. And I've worked in most of them. I've worked in vessel shops. I've worked in pipe shops. I've been in structural shops. I've been in repair shops. And I wanted to go through all these places to find out what do I really like to do? I love doing it all, but some I like to do more than others, and be like, okay, I could see myself doing this style for 10 years or this 5 years, and go that way. But don't let the industry beat you down. There's a lot of guys out there that'll just rather step on your head than give you a hand up. Ignore them. Just find out what you really like to do about it, and keep yourself keep yourself into the business, the passion part of it, because it doesn't matter how much money you make, you'll spend it all. But if you've got a
So
love and a
true.
passion for what you're doing, that's what keeps you through the tough jobs, going, okay, just a little bit more, I can do it and get it done. And it's the job satisfaction. But love what you do. If you hate what you do something else.
That's so true. It comes up in a lot of topics. And I've even said to people, like, they're like, "Oh, well, I heard there's a lot of harshness in welding." It's just life. There's harsh people in every job. I don't care if
Everywhere.
you're
Exactly.
an administrative, or you're some number counter, or you're a carpenter, or you're an auto salesman. I don't care what you do for a living. You're going to be surrounded by assholes. Sorry. Like, I mean, it's just the way it
Yeah.
is. You got to find a
Yeah.
way to get past that, and you got to just think about what you want and just do what you want, because really no one
Yeah.
else is going to look after you.
No, they're not. You have your own sight in mind, and learn to judge people by their values and follow it by that.
Mhm.
Don't let them try to take you off course. I've been on the up and down, and I'm sure you've been on the up and down, where it's like you go into a job and you work so hard that you just hate your life and you just hate your work, even though you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
You don't want to get there. So you gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Keep it, keep that in mind while you're doing this stuff.
Yeah, I remember
So
I tell the story to my students that there was a point about 10 years in where I actually had to pull over to the side of the road one day, and I cried on my way to work. Like,
yeah,
I didn't want to walk in that front door. I just hated it. And I thought,
yeah,
this is it. I'm done with welding. Like, if I'm this upset going to work at 5 in the morning how the hell am I going to do this? And I got to work, and actually one of my mentors there, who I love the guy to this day. He's still working. He's one of the guys that really pumped me up as a kid. Larry Paling, I'll throw his name out there. Guy's a rock solid, big biker dude, nice guy. He pulled me aside one day and he's like, "You don't like it here? Don't come. Get another job."
Yeah, go to another shop.
Yeah, and I did, and it was awesome. Like, it was instantly better, and I loved my work again. You know, I was like,
Right.
You know, it's just like, yeah, like, don't force yourself to do something you don't like. You know.
No, I did that about 6 times, and to different shops, and it wasn't necessarily all the people. It was just different work. One shop, built augers, and that's all we did. And well, I got tired of that, and I wanted to learn something else. But that shop couldn't teach me anything else, so I went to a boiler shop, and hell, I learned tons of things until I got tired of that. Coming out of a boiler just pitch black and cleaning them. I got tired of that. So I went and did something else. And every new job had its new things to offer you, a new experience that you could lead on.
All right,
and new people.
So tell the people how to find you. What's your website? What's your Instagram? Let everyone know.
Pretty much, if you search Hell-n-Back Welding on anything, we'll pop up. There's not really anyone else that has that name. So Hell-n-Back Welding, Facebook, Instagram, Etsy, YouTube, it's all on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been a great interview. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. This was great. I had lots of fun meeting the both of you. Next time I'm out in Alberta, I'll probably be up at Nisku for CWB stuff. Maybe I'll give you guys a ring. We can get together for a beer.
Yeah, you ever find yourself up here, give us a ring for sure. We'd love to meet.
And I love camping. Maybe I'll take the trailer up there and maybe go visit your area.
Oh, beautiful camping up here for sure.
Yeah, so I might bring the wife and go do some visiting. And also on your guys' end, if you guys ever want to get more involved with the CWB in this association, we're looking for passionate people like you guys. So definitely think about joining for a membership and seeing what you guys can offer, because you guys have a lot of passion and you can just sense it. So it's very good.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We still have it. Yes, it hasn't gone. It hasn't gone anywhere.
And I think we encourage each other all the time. I think him seeing me new in the trade gives him passion, and me seeing him with all his experience gives me, I want to learn more and more as much as I can, because I'm at the point where I know how little I know. I just want to keep learning.
Yeah, you're at the point where it's like, now there's so much to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it, and you guys take care. Thanks for the interview.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
you too.
Very much.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to the CWB Association Welding Podcast with Max Ceron. If you enjoyed what you heard today, rate our podcast and visit us at cwbassociation.org to learn more. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or suggestions on what you'd like to learn about in the future. Produced by the CWB Group and presented by Max Ceron. This podcast serves to educate and connect the welding community. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.